Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
Conceive, believe, achieve. Shut the f*** up.
You're listening to Believe You Me with Michael the Count Bisping.
You know my name yet?
And Anthony Lionheart Smith.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not adjust your screens. I am back from Australia. This is Believe You Me with Anthony Smith and, regrettably for you, Michael Bisping. Stick it in your pipe and smoke it. What's going on, Anthony? How you been, buddy?
Not much, man. I'm glad you didn't make a liar out of me. I told the believers Thursday we had a special guest coming on today. And sure shit.
Well, we do have special guests. We've got Drew Dober.
He's right here.
And Jalin Turner. Yeah. Special guest. Started the podcast in 2015. You know what I mean? But thought I'd show my face. No, there was I was at my brother's-in-law. Just no Wi-Fi. We tested with Brian, and there was Wi-Fi, but it's like it just wasn't going to happen. So there you go. Well done to you lads for keeping the show going. Appreciate it, boys. Well done. I'm sure you did.
I hope you didn't watch it.
I did not.
Don't watch it. Don't watch it.
No. Really?
No, we went off the rails. It's I'm surprised there's a show to come back to here. So we're good for now.
What was the off the rails? Which was most off the rails?
Michael, you do a pretty good job of keeping this thing on track, and we kind of are just all over the place.
Yeah, it's not easy sometimes.
And there wasn't enough berating of Harrington, so I'm sure you'll be disappointed in that. I didn't give him enough shit.
Don't worry.
We gave Brian a whole segment on his conspiracy theories with AI. So there was that.
Yeah. Well, there'll be none of that shit now. Don't worry. The king is back. But look at him. I hate him already. I'm trying to think. There's a lot of stuff going on. Jon Jones comes back next week. Obviously, we'll talk about that next week. But did you see that he feels like he's vindicated from steroid use? Did you see that? What he said about that?
I did. I don't know where did because they changed the USADA rules that would essentially now not make it. I guess he wouldn't have been a failure at the time, correct?
Yes. So they changed the threshold from whatever it was before, but they've changed it up to 100 picograms. So a picogram is 1/1,000,000th of a gram, and apparently does give you no performance advantage whatsoever. He had 25, I believe, in his system. Now it's 100. So he's like, "Oh, I'm cleared." I didn't. The actual tweet was, "I feel cleared. There will be no asterisk next to any of my performances. It's good that the rest of the world can see what I've known this whole time. My only advantage over my competition has been pure hard work." What's your take? Obviously, no smoke without fire. We know all this. We know the history. But what's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, the part that stood out to me was the pure hard work. When himself, he's admitted himself that there's been times where he's kind of just phoned it in, and he's just such a fantastic athlete and fantastic fighter. He's able to do it. It's that famous joke, I beat you, after a night of cocaine or something like that, or whatever that joke
that's
was.
right. Yeah, no, he said it to, was it DC or Gustafsson?
It was DC. I think it was DC. Yeah. So I think at times, and I think that's a credit to how good he is. There's at times he hasn't worked as hard as he should have and looked past people and was still able to get wins. So, I don't know what to think of that, of the whole picogram thing. I don't necessarily understand all of that. I think either way, there was at some point there was something in his system. So I don't necessarily know how all that works, to be honest.
Yeah.
How do you feel
to
about
be
it?
honest, I mean, there was things in his system, you know what I mean? Right. So I'm always dubious. Anytime there's a contaminated supplement, defense, and all the rest of it. I actually did a video on it yesterday on my YouTube channel, so I don't want to go into it too in depth because it can be kind of boring. But listen, there was things in the system that shouldn't have been there. And then granted, there was the cocaine thing. I don't really hold that against him. Some people like to enjoy themselves. That's a recreational drug. It doesn't really.
Right. And it was out of competition. He can do whatever he wants.
You can do whatever you want. So that one, not so much. The dick pill thing, he said that's where some of the contamination of certain drugs came from. Look, if I was him, I just wouldn't have bothered tweeting anything, to be honest, because you're kind of highlighting it. It's forgot. Yeah. It's forgot. It's in the past. You got a monster fight against Cyril Gane next week, heavyweight title on the line, and a sick fight card as well. I mean, I'm excited for that one. I know you don't like Jon Jones, but you got to be excited for that card.
It's not even so much that I don't like Jon Jones, to be honest. I think much like Jon, I think I've turned the leaf on a lot of things. I think I've not that we've spoken about it or hashed it out, but I think that Luke Rockhold and I are probably past our deal. It's just not, it's more work than it's worth to continue the bullshit. It's just not worth it at some point. And I've never had any problems with Jon personally. I actually think that if Jon and I were to sit down and have a couple beers together, I would be fairly certain that he and I would have a fine time sitting there.
I'm sure you would.
I don't think we're that much unlike in a lot of ways. So we just never had the opportunity to do that. And I understand his frustration with me where he feels like, well, this guy's always talking shit. It's not that I'm talking shit. It's just that I'm a former opponent. I'm a guy that's been critical of you. I'm critical of your performances at times. But that's my job. I'm supposed to analyze you. I would think that at this point he's noticed that I've never attacked him personally. So it's not even that I don't like him. We've never had an opportunity to have a real life conversation.
Yeah, and you know what? For the most part, a lot of fighters we're similar types of people, kind of cut from the same cloth. If you met under different circumstances, you generally get along. I always said that about Rockhold. He's mates with Daniel Cormier. I like Daniel Cormier. The fact them two were so close makes me think that we'd probably get along, and we kind of do now. Not that we're best buds. We're not jumping on the phone. But when I see him, I don't want to punch him in the face, and he doesn't want to kick me in the head. I mean, that's pretty good, because it was like that for a long, long time. But listen, we got a lot to talk about with Jon Jones. We'll save most of that for next week, though, because it's going to be Jon Jones overload. It's going to be Jon Jones forced down your throat for the next 10 days, which I'm excited about. You got to be excited about it,
I'm really excited about this fight. There's lots of questions, and without getting deep into it now, we're going to spend all next week getting deep into it. So, but yes, I'm very excited. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of, this is one of those really fun fights to break down. Yeah. Well, this one really fits in my wheelhouse as far as breaking fights down, because there's so much film on Jon. There's so many different opponents he's fought. There's guys, there's grapplers, there's wrestlers, there's big power guys, there's long rangey, elusive strikers. There's just a lot on him. So you get a lot of tape study, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And we'll be going into all of that next week, so make sure you tune in for that one, because there is a lot to talk about, and it is going to be fun. McGregor making the news again this week, threatening Tom Aspinall. I'm not sure if you saw that. Did
I
you
didn't
run across that?
Big Tom?
Big Tom.
Good luck with that.
Oh, Big Tom. So me and Tom were talking the other day. We were on the phone, just having a little catch up. And I was trying to get him on the podcast. He said, I'd love to. He's going away doing something. He said, when I come back. But he said, oh, did you see McGregor? And I hadn't done. I hadn't seen it whatsoever. And McGregor, he was talking about, he was doing a podcast or talking to some journalist or something. And he basically got asked about it. And he just said, he didn't say anything bad, but he just said he wasn't that interested. He said, I'm kind of over the whole McGregor thing. He said, there's way more fights that I'm excited about. The Jones fight, for one, in his division. Mm-hmm. And then he talked about Leon Edwards fighting Kamaru. He said, there's lots of fights that I'm more interested in. I'm not that interested in it. So then McGregor didn't take that too kindly. Let's see. I think Harrington put it in the notes here. He said, yeah, here it is. Well done, Harrington. He says, mush head, which is such a low blow. Mushhead rat, keep your comments to yourself. Bum prick. Say sayonara to that Jim King deal, kid. Starve you and kill you, I fucking will. You disrespectful prick. Don't ever speak my name in disrespect again. Mush potato head. And then Tom just responded by on his phone screensaver thing, like his contact, scribbled out Tom Aspinall and put mush potato head. In fact, there it is. That's Tom. Tom's the most laid back guy. I mean, have you spoke to Tom when we've had him on the podcast, Anthony?
Yeah. He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah. There's no rattling him. I guess when you walk around and you're 6'5" and you're as talented as Tom Aspinall, you move so well and you're so good in every facet of mixed martial arts.
270 pounds.
You're not bothered about some lightweight chatting a bit of shit. You just laugh it off.
Yeah, I just don't. That's the one part that does get me thinking weird. Like, why do you care what Tom Aspinall says? Like, why is he so worried? Like the times he's come at you, the times he's come at me, the time, like to a little bit, I understand why he comes at us when he's upset, because we do have a big platform and a lot of people are listening to things that we say on here and in other places. But
Tom Aspinall's a no one. Jesus,
well, he's not a no one. But if he's just on an interview, like what? I mean, what you couldn't even tell me what media outlet he was with.
No, I can't.
Like how many people heard
like
it?
Jamie
You know
Nunes or something like that. If I remember rightly.
Nothing against the media outlet. It's just, why do you care what Tom Aspinall has to say? Just worry about you and do your thing. It's not that big of a deal. You can't care what everyone says about you.
But you know what it is.
And there's a lot of fights. If there's other fights you're more excited about, like it's not a knock on Conor. It's just where Tom's feelings are and wanting to see other fights.
It certainly wasn't an insult. It wasn't, but I kind of, not that I get it from McGregor's perspective, but here's what I think's going on. It's kind of the same reason why I'm excited for Jon Jones coming back. For Jones, he's definitely in discussion about being the GOAT. Anytime you talk about Khabib, Islam, Volkanovski, he's very quick to jump on Twitter and say, whoa, have you guys forgotten about me type of scenario? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because he feels forgotten about. He feels disrespected. He feels like, people have basically, as I said a moment ago, forgotten about how great he was. And I think that's kind of what propels Conor a little bit as well. And it's actually why I respect that side of it, because he doesn't have to fight. We know this. He's made the money. But he holds that so dear to his heart. I don't know what you were like growing up, Anthony, but when I was growing up, didn't have much. All I had was my fighting ability. And I really prided myself on that to a fault. Absolutely to a fault. But if someone thought they could beat me in a fight, I was very down to find out. So I was always getting in scraps because that was all I had. And McGregor, I think that's why he's so sensitive about it. It's like, hold on a minute, I was a double champ. I set this sport on fire. I made tons of money, and I'm not saying I agree with him, but I'm just saying I think that's why he has these irrational responses.
No, dude, I think you're 100% right. And do you think that that's part of what makes, just to use Jon and Conor as an example, do you think that's what makes them so great? In a lot of ways. Like they're, yeah. I had this conversation yesterday with my therapist. I don't give a shit. I'm in therapy and I got someone I talk to. So she said,
I thought I was your therapist, Anthony.
You are.
I thought
I'm in therapy 3 times a week, twice with you.
Into each other's eyes, spilling our hearts out to the believers. This is my form of therapy, Anthony.
Dude, I'm telling you, sometimes I feel like I'll come on here and I'll feel kind of like shit. And I'll leave here feeling a whole lot better. So,
no. It is weird how you do that. Yeah, I've had arguments with Beck. Come on here, come off. I'm loosey goosey.
Right, but she's still mad.
Ready to go. No. She's fine. She hasn't got issues. She doesn't hang on and harbor things. I do. But when I come on and do a 2-hour-long podcast, I'm like, I forgot about it.
Yeah, fuck it. But anyways, I was talking to her, and she brought something up saying that people like me and you and fighters in general, that it's like you hold on to stuff that got you to where you were, but then once you don't need it anymore, you don't ever let go of it. So it's like you kind of live, I don't know, like you're in defense all the time. Like you're constantly defending yourself is how you feel, or you constantly, I don't know, like in a state of survival. But then even when you don't have to you don't have to have that survival mindset, not so much that you don't need it when you fight or whatever, but you know what I mean? Like, it got you to where you were, but then once you don't need it anymore, you hold on to it. That's almost how it is with Conor and Jon. Like that mindset is what got them to being as popular and the double champ. And then Jon, the potential greatest of all time. But now he doesn't really need that thought process. You would think in a perfect world that you would transition that to a different type of motivation to stay in your spot. But it's like some rich people always are mentally broke. Like they could have millions and millions and millions of dollars, but in their mind, they're still broke.
Yeah. I do completely understand what you're saying. And I think the main reason that they're still like that is because they're still active. They're still currently an active member of the roster. I mean, Jon's fighting next week, for crying out loud. More than likely, we're going to see Conor in a ring with Michael Chandler, even though I saw him on Instagram falling out of the Ultimate Fighter house yesterday, absolutely hammered. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. I mean, he was on a good one. Hey, I went in the Ultimate Fighter house a couple of times, kind of on a good one as well. So no judgment from my side. But the point that I was making is that they're still active. They're still fighters. They're still competing against everybody. You know what I'm saying? I think when you retire and hang it up, and I'm speaking from my experience, you walk away and you're not quite as hostile when those kind of things are brought to your attention. You're not quite kind of triggered by it initially. You know what I'm saying? Because Conor wants to be a champion again. Jones, for damn sure, wants to win that fight next weekend. He's not going into that one to lose. So they still have that competitive nature that gets the hackles up. You know what I mean? And makes them want to lash out quickly and aggressively, you know. But I think once you walk away, that kind of goes. Now, granted, that's not for everyone. I don't think, for example, a George St. Pierre was like that, but a lot of us are kind of like that.
Oh, for sure. And my last point on this is if I was Conor or I was Jon, and I seen myself saying the same things, I would probably do the same thing. The difference is I don't have a lot of like former athlete, you know, I don't have a lot of podcast guys that were former fighters analyzing me. There's not a lot of us, you know, there's not a lot of me and yous and DCs and Felders. There's just not. So, you know, if there was a bunch
Sankos.
of active,
Remember Sankos
and Sanko, you know, there's not a lot of people.
Don't know if you know this first female commentator the UFC's ever had.
It is.
No, I'm joking.
It is.
It is. We just mentioned it a lot.
just a lot. I keep giving her. I gave her when I worked with her in Bristol. I gave her so much shit. Like every time she would say, "Oh, hey Anthony," like, "Oh, what do you need a coffee?" You're the first female commentator in the UFC. Like, just kept giving her a whole bunch of shit about it. She's a good sport.
No, she's great. She's absolutely hilarious, and she's got a good sense of humor. That's why you can do that. But anyway, sorry, you were saying.
Fuck, I don't remember what I was saying.
I'm sorry. They'll be like, why
I guess my whole point was just I would be upset too. It's just I don't have a bunch of current and former fighters that are super critical of me, and I'm not the star that they are. So you know what I mean? My profile's not as large as theirs is. So, but I can imagine that I'd probably react the same in a lot of those ways.
You know, that's the issue as well. You know, when you're a star of the magnitude of McGregor or Jon Jones, because what do you think? You think they're the two biggest? I mean, of course, McGregor is by far. But do you think Jones will be the next biggest star in mixed martial arts? Harrington and Brian, what do you guys think as well? And if it's not, who do you think?
I think he's up there for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know who would be big. Yeah, probably. I always equate stars to
It's such a stupid thing and childish to say.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know,
like who do casual fans recognize more? And I would say Jon and Conor are like the two like household names that most people will recognize.
Hamzat? I know that sounds awful to say. No,
I don't think so.
It depends on the market.
What do you reckon, Brian?
I think Anthony got it. I think it's just Jon and Conor are the two big superstars in MMA right now. Maybe Paddy Pimblett on like a smaller scale because of Barstool. So like other people who enjoy other sports and watch them through Barstool are familiar with Paddy and Molly, but like that's a much smaller scale. I think Jon.
What about Herringbone? Herringbone, are you there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of discounting Izzy a little bit in this conversation. Like, I do think being on the cover of the video game and Masvidal, for that matter, right? Like, people, I feel like they have resonated a little bit with the greater public than some of the top contenders, even.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, Nate Diaz.
When I go to these like volleyball games or these basketball games, there's hundreds of teams in these tournaments and stuff, and someone will know I'm a fighter. They'll want to say hi. They'll want to talk to me. I can always tell who the biggest star is by who they want to ask me about. And I would say, I'd say 70-80% of the time, it's Conor and then Jon. Like, is Conor McGregor ever going to fight again? We're like, yeah, I think so, man. And they're like, what about Jon Jones? Where's he been? You know, that like, those are the names. So I always feel like broadly, that's kind of like my barometer for who's hot.
It probably is. I was just going to say Nate Diaz as well. Obviously, he's not part of the company anymore, but the Diaz brothers, Ronda Rousey back in the day. I mean, there's been massive stars, George St. Pierre, but he's hung the gloves up. It's kind of weird. It's bittersweet, because all these big names, they have retired, a lot of them. Like Quinton Rampage Jackson was an absolute megastar back in the day. Megastar, but he's forgotten about these days, not talked about, and there's so many of them.
Not by me. It's my favorite fighter.
No. Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Was he your favorite fighter?
I almost talked to him last year at the MMA Awards. but I was too nervous, so I didn't go up and introduce myself.
Really?
I was afraid he'd be like, "Who the fuck is this guy? What is he
He's
doing?"
He's a grumpy fucker.
Is he? He looked like he was in a good mood. He had a few.
When he's in a good mood, he's the best human being on planet Earth. But yeah, he can be a little bit like that, but he's great. Well, speaking of Conor McGregor, keeping it on kind of that vibe, but on a former opponent, Dustin Poirier. Harrington, I'll let you break this one down. I saw this video. Now this guy's just being an absolute prick, trying to wind up what's his face, Dustin Poirier. I don't even know where this was, Harrington. Was this like, because you sent it into the group chat, and that's the first time I saw it. It was like some rally for his hot sauce or something in Louisiana.
I'm not sure. Just based on the timing of it, given that I saw it on Monday, I assumed it was a Mardi Gras thing because I know like they celebrate that pretty hard. But I'll look further into that. But yeah, it was a parade. Dustin was going by, and some fan got a real bright idea.
I mean, this guy's just a tit, for want of a better word.
And he's going to show it to him.
Yeah, he's going to show it. Hold on. Now, apparently he slaps him. I didn't see him slap him. I mean, I saw him swing a slap.
When I seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so he didn't connect, I don't think. But either way, what an absolute arsehole, right? Because
you think
that's a lot of effort. Yeah, do you not think that guy's an arsehole for doing that?
No, it looked to me like he thought, like he put his hand out to like, hey, that's a funny joke. Like, am I the only guy that like sits around with his buddies and when we're all just having a drink or watching the fights or something and someone will just go, your wife's in me DMs. Like we joke about it all the time. Like I feel bad because Dustin's so offended by it, but like that's like one of those like one-liners that is just stuck. So my friends say it all the time. Anytime I'm saying something or I'm messing with them or we're ribbing each other, one of them will just say that. So it looked to me like he was, like he thought it was going to be funny to Dustin.
For sure, I totally get what you're talking about there. Your friends, you're busting balls, you're allowed to do that. This guy's gone to a lot of effort to do that. And obviously, clearly,
well, he's an idiot.
Situation for Dustin Poirier. So I think he was just trying to be a knobhead. But then, you know how it is, like people talk shit online, they talk shit on Twitter, but then when they see you in person, they want to shake your hand and get a picture with you. It might have been like that. Or maybe he was just saying it in good jest, but there was no lol, there was no smiley face, you know. It might, and Dustin might have took it slightly the wrong way.
Yeah, it was poorly executed, but it did look like he was shocked that Dustin was pissed. So, if you look at Dustin on Twitter, he's very playful on Twitter. Like he doesn't seem to get too riled up. Like if
I never see him on Twitter. Of course, I follow him. I never see him.
Yeah, it's not often he's on Twitter, but he's very playful. He's very fun, and even when people are talking shit, like he's always got like a real funny response. Like he's really quick witted. So I'm wondering if like that guy got the wrong vibe because I would never say that to Dustin. Like I would never crack that joke to him, but. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he just got a poor sense of comedy.
Yeah, well, maybe, or he got a poor side of Dustin Poirier. Yeah. Either way, he was getting what's it called? He was getting. What was he doing there? I know he was on the back of a truck. Harrington says Mardi Gras, or just going around waving at fans and stuff. Fair play.
Throwing beads, yeah.
Throwing what beads?
Throwing beads.
Throwing beads. I know nothing about.
Well, I think they threw someone on the same Jeep threw out beads right afterwards. It's like a Mardi Gras thing.
They used them as currency to get to see titties.
Yeah. Well. All right, listen. Unlike Harrington, I do like to trim my downstairs area, my private parts, the balls. You got to trim it, okay? Harrington, you don't. But listen, if you did, you would know that the Manscaped, right, it has redesigned the electric trimmer because Manscaped has spent 18 months perfecting the greatest ball trimmer ever created. It is the Lawnmower 4.0, the 4th generation trimmer, features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to the advanced skin-safe technology. Listen, all bullshit aside, you're going to be able to trim your downstairs area without hurting yourself, without cutting yourself, without nicking yourself. Use it on your face if you want as well. Use it on your arms. Use it on your back. Get that hair off the fat, flabby parts of your back, Harrington. It is waterproof. If you want to do it in the shower, you can do that. It's got an LED light. It's got a 7,000 RPM quiet stroke technology motor. I mean, come on, this is everything you want. Listen, everybody, you need to trim, you need to groom, you need to take care of yourself, and you want to do it without injuring yourself. You want to go to manscaped.com and use the code Bisping 20. You get 20% off and free shipping. Your balls will thank you. Your significant other will thank you. You will also thank yourself when you step out of the shower. You catch yourself in the mirror. You're naked, but you're like, oh, look at that. Smooth as a groove. Manscaped.com. Bisping 20 is the code. Your balls will thank you. Okay, where were we? What time is it? What is it? 1:38. We've got 7 minutes if Drew Dober's on time. 7 minutes until he joins us. So Harrington, go on. Throw us one of these non-MMA stories. I'm having a look here.
I've been saving.
A man convicted of double homicide is suing his prison over soggy tofu. Mm-hmm. Do we want to hear that, Anthony, or do we want to hear Home Depot is now selling tiny homes for as little as $15,000?
I seen that and I immediately went to HomeDepot.com because I'm looking at one for sure.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I got a buddy that's got one that he just like.
All right, Harrington, cue it up. Let's give Harrington.
We'll give him his due. Put the work in.
Exactly.
I mean, there's not much else to be said. Just Home Depot is now promoting these. They are $15,000. You can finance it for as low as $301 a month. Just get yourself some land and some plumbing, and you got yourself a house for.
So how tiny are they though?
I mean, this guy does like a little walkthrough of it, but I mean, it's small.
If you're just a single guy though, that's a great idea.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
If you got somewhere to put it, I got a buddy that's got one, and his parents have a whole bunch of land out in Colorado, and he just he has a family that's he lives in Denver, and he's got his whole wife and kid, and they do their thing. But when they want to just disappear, he wants to disappear. He just jets out into the middle of nowhere, stays in this tiny little house. It's got plumbing and water, and it's.
That's the thing. You need the land, though.
I think you need the land. I'll put one in my backyard for when I'm in trouble.
Well, yeah, not a bad idea. Most people, though, that want to buy one for shelter, for actual shelter, I don't think they're in a position to fork out 15 grand and have the land. You can stick it in a car park somewhere, but still, for 15 grand, I mean, how much is an RV? They're about $100,000.
Yeah, there's a lot more than that. Yeah.
Saying that, you're kind of stuck. And you could stick a house on the back of a trailer. It might not be the smartest thing to do. You like that, Anthony?
They're mobile. You got to move.
You got one of those? Oh, you went to look at them?
An RV or the tiny house?
No. So the tiny house. I guarantee you've got an RV.
No, I just sold it not that long ago. We've talked about
see, I knew it. Of course.
No, I've looked at them though. I've looked at them. I just think it'd be cool. Like, I've been wanting to purchase some hunting ground, just so me and my kids can have our own spot. And I was like, well, what the hell are we gonna do? So I just thought about putting one of those tiny houses on it. And then we have like a place to stay.
Sounds amazing. I was just thinking then when you said hunting, Eric Goulet, the guy that owns the horses.
Mm-hmm.
He sent in a hunting knife. Yeah. He wanted to do one called Lionheart as well, though, I believe.
I know. I just haven't won him over yet, I guess. But one of these days he'll get one.
Well, he wanted us to, whatever. We'll talk about that off air. But Eric very kindly sent in a hunting knife for Lucas. And Brian or Harrington forwarded it down to our house. So thank you, Eric. However, Harrington or Brian, whichever one it was, they're trying to set me up for an epic fail, for a fall.
Before you say what happened, it was definitely Harrington.
Yeah. The knife was out of the sheath. You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
So I'm opening it up. I'm like, what is this? I've got my hand in because I couldn't open it all the way. And I pull it out, nearly sliced my finger off, Harrington.
Okay.
Jeez,
so
Louise, buddy.
I packed it perfectly. The office manager here at Gas, who then delivered it to the post office, opened it up to be like, oh, what is this thing? And then remembered that was the knife I had told him to go send the day before, and he repackaged it poorly.
Took it out of the sheath, sending it to a young boy. My God.
I'm so sorry about that.
Knife?
My word.
I would love a
nice hunting knife.
I would
very,
love one.
very nice hunting knife.
I wish I had one.
All right, so what is it? 3 minutes. That didn't go very far, did it? So, should we do another one? Harrington, throw us one at your discretion, Harrington.
Well, I've been saving this one while you've been out because you sent this one through. The German ballet director, who is now being investigated by the police after a negative review from a critic led to him rubbing dog feces in her face.
Yeah, hold on. Just to throw this out there, we have a group chat, and now and again I'll see like a story that makes me laugh. So I copied the link and I throw them in just so we remember as we go. Never once said we have to talk about this on the show. So he throws that in there as if like to try and shame me. But go on. So what happened? The German ballet director has been fired from his job and has been investigated by the police after allegedly smearing dog feces in the face of a critic who gave a negative review. See, look, Conor McGregor's not on his own.
I was just going to say, we just talked about this stuff. People take that shit personally.
Even ballet directors. Do you like a bit of ballet, Anthony?
No, we're not much of a ballet family over here. It's not something we do. Yeah,
I am so shocked. Yeah, let's have a look, Brian. Let's
He
see
looks like a diehard villain.
Is that him?
Oh my God.
Oh, that's definitely a guy that rubs shit in other people's faces.
He looks like a shit munching the German. Can we see? Oh, obviously we can't see him rubbing the thing in. What did he get? What kind of sentence did he get? I mean, that's, to be fair, that's pretty bad. Rubbing some dog feces in someone's face.
So he's being investigated right now. He says, I had 2 premieres back to back. I was under a lot of stress and, I regret it, but it happened.
Yeah, but you can't.
He's not even denying it.
He's not even denying it. I mean, I guess you can't. Do that. Drew Dober's in the house, one of the most handsome bastards on the UFC roster. Brian, you want to just stick Drew Dober in the middle so we're both peering at him?
BYM sandwich.
We were just literally talking right there, Drew, and welcome to the show and thank you for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Oh, bro, it was way overdue. A German ballet director didn't like a review of his show, so he smeared dog feces or dog shit, as we probably call it, in someone's face. Have you ever had anyone online talking shit and you've wanted to rub some dog shit in their face?
I mean, I think the internet is for talking shit, so I think that the dog shit would be a little outrageous. But no, I don't think anyone's got it that far.
No. Anyway, you just jumped on just as we were talking about that. Lots of things to talk about, Drew. The one thing that's going around the rumor that's circulating, and I'm just going to start with this. I'm going to ask, because you even kind of cryptically tweeted, big things going on this year. If you can't talk about it, just say can't talk about it. But Drew Dober, Paddy Pimblett, UFC 288, 6th of May, according to someone on Twitter.
Well, I mean, that's one exciting fight. I mean, I think everyone wants to see me punch Paddy in the mouth and to test his scouser theory. But it's really all up in his field. I'm not above fighting anybody, and especially someone as well liked as this guy. But the ball's in his court, so I've accepted. I'm all for it. I'm ready to go whenever he wants. Now we're just waiting on him.
So you got offered the fight and you accepted it?
I wouldn't go say it was offered, as in I've been, putting my name up in the mix to fight him. Now we're just figuring out what the UFC wants to do with Paddy. And, like when you have X many followers on Instagram, right? Like he has to, call the shots. And we'll see what he wants, and I'll agree to it.
Well, I hope it happens, because it would be a fantastic fight. And to be honest, Drew, it's kind of the matchups that you deserve right now. Let's go back to that fight, because obviously we don't know if that fight's going to happen. No point sitting here talking too much about Paddy, but I hope it happens, because I think it'd be a great fight for both of you. That fight against Bibby Green, oh my God, that was sensational. Listen, Bobby's awesome. And by the way, the sportsmanship that you both showed afterwards, because Bobby's just a G, isn't he? But he's fast, he's slick. You know what I mean? And he was giving you a bit of a tough time to start, because that's what he does, because he's so good. But you just stayed the course, and in round 2, backed him up against the fence, and boom, the shot. I mean, what was going through your mind? Because he is elusive and so quick. What was going through your mind? Like at the end of round 1, were you like, this son of a bitch, just stay in one place for a second?
I mean, it was in the middle of the first round. I was like, damn, Bibby Green's doing this to me. Like, we thought about it all camp. Like, don't allow this to happen. Don't do this. But, man, he was just so good at it. And, like, he was putting it on me. And, like, I was like, oh, man, he's doing this to me. Man, he just, the way he runs his mouth and moves his head, and he's just so elusive. It was a style of fight that I've never been a part of. So I sat on that stool in between rounds, and I looked at my coach. I was like, well, that didn't work. What's next? And, the key was the term was throw to miss, right? I think I was engaging a little too much in that first round, trying to land everything, and I wasn't able to see his counters. So in the second round, we came in with just the ability to just miss punches and more control the octagon. And I was able to see his counter, and it got to a point where once I got in the pocket, I refused to get out of the pocket, and we found that left hand.
Drew, in your last couple fights, it seems like the beginning of them, has it started the way that you wanted, but I think you're making adjustments better now, and you're like now at this point in your career than you have in the past. So I feel like in the past you've always been in these real gritty, I don't know, just kind of back and forth battles where you're kind of taking it, but you're giving damage back. But it seems you didn't make the adjustments early on in your career that you're making now. What would you change? Like, I know you still have a lot of the same people in your camp. You're kind of in the same spot. So it does seem like you're maybe they're a little rougher than they were at the start, but you're making much better adjustments as the fight goes.
Yeah, man, my first rounds in that Apex haven't been so good in the year of 2022. But my older age, you gotta make adjustments in your 30s, or else you're just gonna drown. And on top of that, my loss against Brad Riddell was a huge eye-opening moment. I went into that fight thinking I was gonna knock Brad out, found his chin in the first, and I wasn't able to seal the deal. And he made the adjustments, and I was able to keep up. And that's how we won the decision. So that loss really sparked that, we got to treat every round like an individual round. We don't want to come into fights with expectations. We only react to the problems that we're given. And man, it was just a huge theme on that loss of just being able to adapt and overcome every moment of every fight.
I mean, to be honest, you can't blame me for thinking that you're going to catch him and put him away, because your last 6 victories in a row have all been knockouts. Is that something that you always trained for, or is it just like you just have that ability? You always knew that even before mixed martial arts, you had the ability to knock somebody out?
I think I was just blessed with that left hand to solve problems. But the problem is when I expect too much, or if I go in assuming I'm going to get the knockout, it doesn't seem to happen. And so the fights that I do get the knockout, I go in with that idea that we're going to have a war for 15 minutes. I was equally as surprised as everyone else when I put Bobby Green away, because he's hard to hit and hard to knock out. So I just got to go into every single fight thinking this is going to be the biggest fight of my life, and we're going to fight the full fight.
Do you think you're talking about you just getting older, in your 30s? This isn't the old school days in the South Circle anymore. We're grown men now. Do you think, because you had found out about you guys expecting a baby before the fight, correct?
Yes.
Do you feel like that changes anything, maybe in your preparation or your motivation?
It changed the mentality going to fight camp. Not so much fight week, but fight camp. And that was, I've been training to feed myself, right? I've been fighting to feed myself. And now we got a baby on the line, and I'm going to be a dad. So now being too hungry, being too tired, being fatigued, all that stuff no longer matters. I know what the job I need to get done. And you just got to shut your mouth and get the job done. And we really pursued that with my fight with Bobby Green. And we're continuing it this year as far as, man, no excuses. Sometimes you got to feel like shit and get the job done. And, that's what we had to do in the Bobby Green fight.
Is it a boy or girl that you've got?
But we got a girl. So that means I got more on my hands than if I had a boy.
Yeah.
I don't think fighters make boys. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, yeah. All fighters make girls.
Well, except for Michael Bisping. I mean, he can rub that into everyone, but he's just more of a man than us.
I've got a daughter. You know what I mean? I've got 2 boys as well. You do it enough times, you get one.
No, you don't.
Well, no, not with you. You've got 27 girls, haven't you? But now you're a father, though. For me, when I was, when I was younger, I was reckless. When the kids came along, that's kind of what led me on this path to becoming a professional fighter in the first place. But when kids are involved, it's no longer about yourself, and I would assume for yourself, because as I say, I had kids before I was a fighter. But if my children came along when I was already in the UFC, that would motivate me further, make me train harder, make it more professional, my camps more structured and all the rest of it. But there's some people I know, like Brian Stan, I believe, was like, I've got children now. Was it Brian Stan? Some people have walked away because of children. You know, where do you sit on that, Drew? And that's probably a stupid question, but do you feel what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. I think having children isn't always a compliment to your fight game. You know, I think a change is going to happen, you know, as soon as I hold her in my arms. I don't know in what direction that change is. So she's not actually born yet. Forgive me. So I had no idea. No, our due date is June. That's why I'm pushing for this another paycheck before the baby comes out.
You know, Harrington, our producer's having a kid, I think maybe in June as well.
I mean, I don't have the bags under my eyes yet, so we can safe to assume that it hasn't arrived.
Yeah, you will. You will. You know, they having a baby turned me into a pussy for a little while.
I mean, I'm assuming that could happen. I mean, I'm already kind of a pussy, though.
Well, it made me soft. I was a little bit. I struggled with that for a little bit. Like after the first kid, it's tough to. Especially when you like now it's different because I travel for my training camp. So when I'm really in the shit and I'm really grinding, I'm in Denver and I'm kind of being I'm like a samurai by myself. But when I'm home, when I was doing the camps here at home, it was tough to like come home, hold this baby, feed this thing, change a diaper, like be so loving, and then have to turn it on and go to practice and like train to be a killer and then turn it back off. So like I had to develop a switch and I had to figure out how to turn it on and off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I need to find it too hard. I mean, if you know me, you know that cage fighting is the only thing that makes me masculine. Outside of that, I'm a huge pussy. Like, so I only got to be tough 3 days out of the year, and it's on a Saturday typically. Man, outside of that, it's just kind of seeing, you know, what changes are going to come, you know, in this fight game. You know, I've always wanted to be a superhero, and I've always kind of like, this is how I want to fight and how to like act and how to talk. I want to be this superhero, you know, but now since I'm going to have a daughter, now I got to be the superhero. And I think that's just going to be a little extra added motivation.
You know, it's funny that you say cage fighting is the only macho thing about you, you know, because on Twitter, I put a little tweet out. You might have saw some of the questions. Someone was like, ask him what kind of hair product he used because he's got just perfect hair. And I saw you at the Apex. You were a stylish guy. You were dressed very nicely. I like that trench coat you were wearing, and you're very well put out. You're from Omaha, Nebraska, correct? Actually from Omaha, because I always tease Anthony and say I get where he's from wrong. I always say he's from Omaha and he gets a little bit annoyed. But what was it like for you growing up in Omaha, Nebraska? Tell us about Drew Dober before we saw him in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's unique. I think people assume that, you know, if you're from Nebraska, you're part of the cornfields. But man, I grew up in like Section 8 housing, single mother. You know, not the most financially stable household. So I had to be the man of the house really early. So, I mean, that's kind of how I grew up. My mom's my best friend, huge mother's boy. I couldn't run, jump, or catch a ball. So thank God I found out I could take a punch. Found martial arts at like 13 and fell in love and just got neck deep in it. And then, I found this empty bar that Anthony was already at. And we decided to fight in a cage like every weekend. Yeah. And man, my love for the sport grew then, and it keeps growing every day.
You know, I think we've talked about this recently, but it is so crazy to me that, you know, like the path to guys coming up now is much different. Obviously, you see guys in the Contender Series. There's the Ultimate Fighter route. There's the you know, I remember you and I fighting on cards on the regional scene, like for, I don't know, $7 and a hot dog, just hoping to make it to the UFC. Do you ever give yourself an opportunity to kind of sit back and reflect, or are you too afraid that you're going to lose sight on what's ahead of you?
No. Gratitude is one of the biggest things that keep me motivated. I mean, we had to sit back, my family and I, at the end of 2022. You know, we were 16 years old, 17 years old, just fighting in empty bars, trying to see, you know, just you know, making recess into a career. You know, but now 2022, sitting 3-0 with 3 knockouts, back in the rankings in the UFC. You know, with the potential of fighting, you know, the baddest man on the planet. And man, it's so surreal. I'm so grateful and blessed. And yeah, I definitely had to take a moment, take a deep breath, and enjoy where I'm at.
Oh, listen, yeah, rightly so. I mean, you're having a tremendous career, and it's crazy, as you say. Life wasn't easy for you growing up, but look at where you're at now. You got a tremendous opportunity, potentially fighting one of the big names in the sport next. We'll leave that there. It just shows where life can take you if you're willing to work hard. But I think it's about, you got to figure out what your talent is first. You know what I mean? You can't just work your ass off and work hard and expect things to happen if you don't have any direction. So what age were you when you kind of figured out that, I know you said before you realized you could take a punch and you started doing martial arts at 13 years old, but at what stage did you think, hold on a minute, I've got something here and I'm going to put all my efforts into becoming a professional fighter?
Yeah, I think it wasn't so much like my biggest worry or concern growing up was if I had that it factor, because I had the passion and I had the love for the sport, had the love for training, and I opened up every time I stepped foot in that cage, and I really enjoyed it. And it would be so unfortunate if I had so much love, but I lacked the talent, So it was more so I just ignored if I had it or not, and I just kept pursuing, and my record shows it, right? My career hasn't been perfect, but the love has always been there. And it wasn't until my late 20s that I kind of found what made me great. And, I stopped simulating other fighters and I focused on what made me great. And I just kind of went headfirst into, I just got to be me and be loud about it.
Mike, back when, in my late teens, how old are you now, Drew?
34.
34.
I just looked it up on Wikipedia because I'm like, in my 30s, because you look about 21.
Always. I've always looked 10 years younger, which is great now, but when I was 25, I couldn't find a date.
Yeah, did you get ID'd in bars and pubs all the time?
I still got ID'd. I can't grow any facial hair.
That is so funny. Anyways, Mike, when I had my first fight, my very first amateur fight, I drove from a small town, Nebraska City, where I grew up at, drove all the way to Omaha with a buddy. We were booze cruising. We were going to watch some amateur mixed martial arts. Wasn't sanctioned in the state. It was, to this day, I still love that guy. I still talk to Tim Baser every once in a while. All you had to do was show up and sign up. There was no matchups. They just matched you up as close as they could and wait. And
what year is this?
06, end of 06. So Drew and I would have been 17, and I sat in the crowd. I just sat in the crowd and watched, and they just needed someone because the numbers were off. So I was like, well, I'll give it a shot from the crowd. And Drew was already fighting. He was already going. And that same work ethic, I used to want to be Drew Dober so bad when I was coming up.
Really?
Because he was already good then. I didn't know shit about fighting. I just was like, I'm going to try this shit. But Drew was probably at that point already a national champion Muay Thai guy. Probably, I would guess at that point. He was already a fantastic striker. He was already at this really nice gym, and he was already good. He was like the best guy around. Everybody wanted to be Drew Dober back then. It was it wasn't about when did he find that path. It was fucking crazy how good he was when we were that young.
Well, I've got one question.
It's funny. Hold on. Sorry, sorry to interrupt you, Mike.
No,
but
please.
which is just
Show
funny.
The guns off. Go on, lad. Just get the guns out real quick.
Well, I mean, after Anthony was just flirting with me, I had to give a little bit. But
I got to be honest. I talk about it all the time. I'm like, I wish you guys could have seen how good he was compared to everyone else back in 06.
Well, I just think it was great because, fighting in the cage, I was watching Anthony Smith and all these guys that were fighting every weekend. Man, I loved training. I loved performing martial arts, but fighting in the cage scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. I was looking at Anthony. I was like, man, he looks so calm and collected. This is his home.
To know what I was doing.
I was scared shitless to step in the cage when I was that young. So I was like, man, I want to be as cool as Anthony. I'm shitting bricks every single time, but man, we had to get over that.
I've got one question.
Yeah.
You two know each other very well. You go back a long way. Why the fuck am I messaging Drew Dober on Instagram to get him on here? Why don't
I could have just texted
pop
him.
round his house and knock on his door and say, hey, buddy, my old best friend in the world, fancy jumping on the podcast? I've got to lower myself to reaching out and saying, please come on my podcast. It's your buddy, Anthony. What's going on?
All you had to do was, you didn't tell me, hey, I'm looking at getting Drew Dober on the podcast. You just said, oh, hey, we have Drew Dober today. I was like, hell yeah, I love talking to Drew. So if you would, I
Take
didn't
the
know that you were
initiative,
reaching out.
Anthony,
I didn't
please,
know
for
you were
crying
reaching
out
out.
loud.
I mean, I was quite flattered that Michael Bisping like slid in my DMs, so I wouldn't have any other way.
Yeah, I did it for
not
Drew.
slide into your DMs. I slithered. So if it's not Paddy, whoever it else is that date May 6th? Is that what it's looking like?
I mean, that would be a fun date, pay-per-view, big event, tons of crowds. I think the amount of risks I take in the octagon, the crowd deserves to be there. The Apex is fun in the moment, but man, I love the crowd. But I'm at a point right now, I just want another man stand in front of me inside of a cage. And so the location and date, it's up to him. Whatever he wants, I'm able to go. I think RDA wanted to fight me at 170. I was trying to get Jalin Turner, but he was focused on the March 4th event. We're still looking at Renato Miocano. I don't know what he's doing. And if Paddy keeps on talking, I'm down to exchange with him as well. So to me, it doesn't matter the who, when, and where. I just want to show up.
We've got Jalin joining us in I don't know, after you anyway. He's joining us. So you've been calling out Jalin as well. That's a fight you'd fancy down the line?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a unique individual with unique problems at the lightweight division. 6'3", and plus he got that number 10 in front of his name. Very intriguing for me. But he had his soul set on that March 4th event, and so now he's fighting Gamrot.
Well, March 4th, next weekend. I mean, it is a hell of a fight card, isn't it? Jon Jones is coming back. We've been talking about it. The whole world's talking about it. What do you think? Cyril Gane, Jon Jones? What's your opinion on that?
I mean, I think Jon Jones can do what Ngannou did to Gane, just slightly better. I'm very curious on how he moves as a heavyweight. But other than that, I got Jon Jones winning that.
I don't want to bring up a sore subject here, Drew, and I would guess, you're a pretty level-headed guy. I'm sure you're past it, but obviously you were in there with Islam, and you've kind of felt what the top of that division is like. Who do you see in the division? Well, first of all, what was your experience with kind of what he felt like in the octagon and the problems he presented, and then what did you think of his fight with Volkanovski and kind of the things that he has coming up behind him in that division?
I think Islam's very technically talented. I think what I felt in the cage wasn't so much just sheer strength, but more so the knowledge of like where he needs to be at every moment. Right? I felt like I was stuck in a hallway and all the doors were locked. Like there was nothing I can do or get out, and like he doesn't make any mistakes. And then I think the frustrating part was he chose not to make mistakes. He chooses not to take risks. He wins rounds. He wins decisions. And to me, it's not the most exciting way to fight, but I had Islam winning that fight. However, Volk caught everyone by surprise by how well he did. And so I left that fight with a notepad thinking about all the things that Volk kind of displayed in that fight. And that's what the lightweight division needs to do now against, the champion of Islam.
That is a tremendous saying, what you just said. What was it? It felt like you were in a hallway with all the doors were locked and you had no way out.
Mm-hmm.
If you hear that on commentary in the next couple of weeks,
you're going to hear that next weekend, I promise.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'm dropping that
using
one.
it.
That's a good one. Is that something you fancy doing down the line? Some a little bit of analyst work on TV and stuff? Because you're very well presented, very, very well spoken, clearly a smart guy. Is that something you'd like to try?
Oh, I'd love to. Talking shop, man. Like I said, martial arts and fighting is like my passion. So if I can't get punched in the face, then might as well talk about it.
Yeah.
Love that.
Anthony?
Well, I was going to talk about the Jalin thing, but I don't know. It didn't really go anywhere. Was it just stuck on the date? Or
Yeah. It was kind of frustrating because, Jalin and I were going back and forth.
He was responding. Yeah.
He was very adamant about fighting that March 4th. And he was trying to coax me into taking
for another 8 minutes. He's going to be here.
Yeah. You can go ahead and tell him we were talking about him. And, I wish him luck, in a week and a half, because I would love the winner of that fight.
Would you have taken a Mateusz Gamrot fight on a week's notice?
On short notice?
Even if you were in shape, would you take that fight on short notice? That seems like a tough fight with a full camp.
Realistically.
So it was difficult. My hands were all banged up after the Bobby Green fight. I couldn't start sparring until February.
Right.
So it only gives me like 3-4 weeks of contact training. And I'm like, hey, Jalin, like March 4th doesn't work for me. Like if you want to do it, I'll do it in April for sure, 100%. But he was really adamant about keeping that date, which I don't blame him.
If you were him, or even if you're in that same position, because I really like Mateusz Gamrot. I love his style. He's good. He's really good, but it doesn't seem like he's the type of guy that you accept as an opponent on short notice. Do you think he's crazy for doing that?
Yeah,
I'm going to ask.
I think it's very impressive. Gamrot has a way of winning fights without even throwing a punch, and that's a problem in 3 weeks. I'm very intrigued, but I mean, I hope the best for Jalin because I got my money on Gamrot.
Yeah, Gamrot's all about those head outside single legs, time after time after time. That's what he does every single time. And Jalen's got very, very long legs, so that's a lot of stuff to grab hold of. However, head on the outside, as you both know, there's a risk of the guillotine there. And with those long arms that he has and being skinny, because you can't be 6'3" at lightweight without being skinny, that is not an insult. That accentuates those chokes. You know what I mean? So I'm sure he's thought about that. Anyway, enough about that. Let me ask you, in your division, the lightweight division, Beneil Dariush, he's been matched up against Charles Olivera. How do you see that one going down? And do you think the winner of that will be the next one to fight for the belt?
Yes, I think the winner of that fight should fight for the belt. I don't like the stalling for the super fights and the money fights. I think we should find the best 55er in the world. And I think it's Beneil Dariush. I think Beneil's going to take that fight. I think he's gonna surprise everyone the way he's going to perform. And man, the fight I want to see is Islam versus Beneil, because I think Beneil's going to give Islam the biggest problems.
You know, you see those guys kind of at the top of your division. It's kind of the same group of guys. It's Olivera, Beneil's always right there, Islam, Poirier, Gaethje, you know, and it's kind of just rinse, wash, and repeat, right? They just all kind of keep moving around. What's it going to take for a guy like you or Gamrot or Sarukian or Jalin? Like, it does seem like they're kind of holding those guys in the top 5 kind of pulled the ladder up, and they're really not letting anybody else in.
Yeah.
What's it gonna
I think the top 10 in the lightweight division are murderers row. I think they're all a bunch of killers, and you got to be a killer to hang with the mix. And man, winning fights by points is not going to impress the lightweight division. So for me to get in the mix of the Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Conor fight, I need to keep on slinging left hands and putting people to sleep, because that's what people want to see, and that's how I'm going to earn my shot. And like, I would love to be a part of that mix. Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, Conor. Like, I would want to fight all 3 of them one weekend. Let's do it.
There's one name that you never mentioned there, and it's not by design, just someone that you just forgot to mention. And this would be an incredible matchup. I would love to see you step in there with Justin Gaethje. You ever thought about that one?
But that happens every Tuesday and Thursday at Team Elevation.
Oh, you spar with each other?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Oh, shit, my bad.
No, it's all because people will love talking about it too, because we have the same temperament, personality, and like the way we fight. But we do it every Tuesday and Friday. And man, during the pandemic, we thought about just doing some Instagram live sparring sessions to make some money. It's a lot of fun, but man, one of us has to hold the gold for us to fight each other.
Oh no, for sure. If you're training partners, 100%, totally get that. Let me ask you,
who gets the better of those rounds? Who gets the better of those?
I wasn't going to say that. That's been ridiculous.
Because I know he's not going to answer it.
Right? It's sparring, right? But Gaethje hits fucking hard.
He does.
You know,
what's it like being kicked by that guy?
Kicked?
Yeah.
So surprising enough, he doesn't kick as much as he does in fights. But he does hit me with these hooks that come out of nowhere, and so I understand how Barboza feels. Like, but man,
does he shoot takedowns? Does he use his wrestling in the gym? Because in the fights he never does, and it frustrates everybody.
Dude, the funniest thing about Gaethje is, man, he's just the embodiment of a gamer. Like, if you watch him spar, you're going to be disappointed. Like, he loses majority of the rounds. Like, he doesn't look like a killer in the gym. And man, he's always working on something. Him and Trevor have like this mix where like they're constantly working on small things. So you don't know what Gaethje's coming in with sparring with, and then he fights, and it's just like a completely different person.
See, that's really interesting, because it's really hard to do that, because when you're sparring, your ego makes you want to win the sparring rounds. But sometimes, like you're talking about there, Trevor and Justin, sometimes it's like, okay, in this sparring matchup, I want you to focus on this. I want you to only get single leg takedowns. I want you to use your left hand only or whatever it is. But it's hard to stick to that because even though it's only a goddamn sparring session and there's nothing on the line and there's no money, the ego takes over and you throw that out the window. So that's really, really impressive. We'll let you go on.
Oh, I was just saying I was going to agree with you, man. I think as a fighter, you got to admit to yourself that you're just going to get your ass kicked Monday through Friday to occasionally kick someone else on a Saturday. When you're in training, like, we're here to fail.
Well, we're going to let you go because Jalen's jumping on in just a second, and he'll probably think that this was some kind of ambush. But Drew, lovely talking to you. We would love to have you on again, seeing as you and Anthony are bros. I had no idea. I'll let you guys just talk amongst yourselves and just pretend I'm not here.
All right, Drew. Well, it was good. It's good talk. Yeah, Mike's right, man. You're gonna have to come back on and come hang out. We'll have to like break down of one of those fights in the lightweight division or something. Like
anytime you guys want. I mean, this is what I love to do, and so you guys give me the opportunity. Anytime.
When your fight gets announced, regardless of who it is, we'd love to have you back on. And yeah, you're always welcome on here, Drew. Lovely to talk to you. Really nice to get to know you a little bit better. All the best with everything. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy yourself.
Take it easy, buddy. I had no idea you guys were like, knowing each other a very long time.
Well, I was going to, like, when we were in the group chat, I was going to say, oh my God, I love Drew. I'm super excited about that. But then I didn't want to sound like, oh yeah, of course he knows him. That's his buddy. I didn't I didn't want to sound like a douchebag, So
you never sound like a douchebag, Anthony. What a lovely guy.
He's awesome.
As I said there, really enjoyed talking to him. I've said hi, just always the polite, cordial. Hey, what's up, Drew? How you doing, buddy? Good looking in your fight, passing him in the apex, stuff like that. Never had a conversation. Smart guy. Very, very smart guy. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's a good, I'm telling you, man, he still is. It's just because he lives in Denver now. He's not in Omaha. He was the fucking guy. Was
he really?
He was getting like undercard Strikeforce opportunities as an amateur because he was so good. They were bringing in amateurs for him to fight in Strikeforce. This is like 2007. Like, he was good, man. He was killing people back in the day.
So you still is old school buddies back in Omaha, Nebraska. We never
really hung out. It was just we fought every weekend. So I guess we hung out every single weekend. He was one of the, like, I was still kind of partying, and I was like, hanging out all the time, and I was like living my best life. And he was, even back then, he was super focused, training twice a day, turned on. Like he was as dedicated as he is now. He was more dedicated when we were younger.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Who else was on that scene? Because like when I was on the regional scene, if you will, it was Cage Warriors. There was myself, Dan Hardy, Ross Poynton, bunch of other, Martin Kampman, bunch of other people. Was there anyone else notable that we'd know that maybe had a career in the UFC that was fighting around that time?
Yeah, Jake and Joe Ellenberger were both on the regional scene back then. I was on the same card when Jake Ellenberger had his last fight before he got in the UFC. And he was a monster.
63, 2006.
Really?
That's when he knocked out. Who did he knock out? Was it Jens Pulver?
No, his UFC debut he lost. Jake? He lost his debut to Carlos Condit.
Or Ellenberger. Do you know what? For some reason, I was thinking Joe Lozon.
No,
and what's his brother called? There's two of them.
Dan.
Yeah, I was way off the mark. But they both fought in the UFC. Why was I thinking that? Yeah, Jake Ellenberger. What's his brother called?
Joe. He only had, Joe only had a couple fights, but
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but Jake's debut was on a couple days' notice versus Carlos Condit, and it was an incredible fight.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was a sick fight.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was, and like no one knew who he was at the time. But yeah, he was a killer back in the day.
Because one of my friends, Lunchbox, we called him. I met him through a training camp I did with Rampage in Big Bear 2006. And when I fought, I think it was Dennis Kang in Manchester, UFC 105. We were trying to get training partners, and he mentioned this guy, Jake Ellenberger. And I didn't know about him, but he said, trust me, you want to see his fight with Carlos Condit. So we watched it. Oh, my God, what an absolute war. So we flew him out, and he came and stayed at my house. Lovely guy. Jake's just the absolute man. And what a career, great fighter he was as well. But, Drew Dober, thank you very, very much. Who else you got there? Anthony, and your little Rolodex that you're not telling us about? Come on, bro.
I don't know. I just
get them on.
Well, I'm just still, I don't know. Sometimes, Mike, I'm worried that I'm going to be like, hey, we got so-and-so on the show. And you'll be like, I don't want to fucking talk to that guy.
No, well, it's communicate. There's communication with a group chat. Say, what about such and such? We'll say, yeah, cool. Or I'll say,
you're like, no, fuck that guy.
He can do.
I do need to do a better job of reaching out to my friends.
Please do. While we wait for Jalin, what should we talk about here? You haven't got the notes. You have the notes up in front of you?
Yeah. I got
have you evolved into a full proper podcaster whilst I went away?
Back when I was doing this by myself, back in the day, you know,
I did it a lot by myself. You know,
I know. It's hard. It's really hard.
Exactly. Sergey Pavlovich, Curtis Blades. I mean, that's going to be a sick fight.
Yeah, that's bad. What do you think of that? Do you think Curtis gets an easy takedown, or do you think that bear of a man, Sergey? Yeah.
I mean, listen, I love Sergey Pavlovich, the way that he fights. I mean, how could you not be? What is it? I think it's 5 first-round knockouts in a row. But the one loss on his record was Alistair over him, caught a kick, kind of put him on his back, and then I think just pounding him out silly, I think it was. And that showed to me a lack of understanding of the grappling, not just an ability, a lack of the understanding. Curtis Blades, as we know what he's going to do. You know, and you'd be a fool to stand with Sergey Pavlovich, especially when you're a wrestler like Curtis Blades. So it's a tough test, definitely for Sergey Pavlovich, but he's ranked number 3. If he can get through Curtis Blades, 100%, I would say whoever wins Jon Jones or Cyril Gane, Curtis Blades would have to be next.
I mean, yeah, you would think so. I would suspect that Curtis Blades wins. I don't know, though, because he's such a, and this isn't me knocking on Curtis. It's that he is very predictable. If you're a better striker than him, he is absolutely going to be a better wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of what he ran into with Derek Lewis. And Derek knew he had to shoot. He doesn't have a choice. He has to. And I think you kind of run into that again. It's kind of one of those trap fights where he's probably more technical than Sergey. He's probably a better wrestler. I mean, he's absolutely a better wrestler. He's a better grappler. But it's like, he has to shoot because there's no reason not to. That's the point of that's the path of least resistance, I suppose.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just texting Brian. Jalin just texted me, said he didn't get the link.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's weird. I definitely sent it to him. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no, he says he hasn't got it, but he's hanging, he's waiting. No, I was listening to what you're saying, but Jalin was like, 1 second, Jalin. He's resending one. I put me second because I'm rushing. Yeah, you know, as you say, a little predictable because he is going to do that. You ain't going to stand. You're not going to stand with Sergey Pavlovich when you're a wrestler. It's just not smart.
No.
You know, just not smart. All right, today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp offers professional counseling done securely online. So if you feel like there's something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals, definitely check out BetterHelp. Look, listen, everyone's dealing with something right now. You know, we've all got things going on in the back of our mind, that internal dialogue. You know, I was seeing anger management for a while and it really, really helped me. But if you're dealing with personal loss, some anxiety, some kind of issue in your life, it definitely helps to speak about it. But whatever you're dealing with, BetterHelp has a wide range of counselors available for you. Plus, BetterHelp is more affordable than traditional counseling. Financial aid is also available and it's easy to get started. Once you sign up, BetterHelp will match you with your own licensed professional therapist who you can communicate with in under 48 hours. This is not a crisis line, by the way. It is not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online, and BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matchups, so it is easy and free to switch counselors if you need. Plus, you can send a message to your counselor at any time, and you'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions, so it's the perfect way to do therapy during the pandemic, and you won't have to go back to sitting in uncomfortable waiting rooms in the future. So, Go to betterhelp.com, BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/believe to join the over 1 million people who have taken charge over their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. New testimonials are posted daily. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. BetterHelp.com/believe. That is betterhelp.com/believe to get 10% off your first month. You know what else isn't smart while we wait for this? Do you care about Jake Paul?
No, I don't care about Jake Paul. I'm interested in what happens. I'm interested in if I feel like he's been fighting people that maybe aren't at his level, the older guys, and faking like, well, this is a perfect guy to ask right here.
That is the perfect guy to ask. Jalin, the Tarantula Turner. That's a very, very poor man's Bruce Buff. What is going on, Jalin? How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Chilling.
Have you met Anthony Smith? Do you know Anthony?
I think I ran into you a couple times.
Yeah, I think we ran into each other at Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Jalin, you are taking over this sport, man. You're doing big things. You've come a long way since that young kid that I met. What was that, 2016? I mean, that's mental that it's seven years ago, bro. Wow.
Yeah.
You've come a long way, man. You've done incredible things. I'm proud of you. For those people that don't know, Anderson Silva was your hero. And you didn't have a bag, but you put an old couch and you would stand it up and you would watch videos of Anderson, right? And just try and replicate his combinations and things like that, right?
Yeah. Back in the day. That was before I even started training in the gym.
Yeah.
Is that where the nickname came from?
Yeah. I own tarantulas too, so I kind of hinted at my own name at the gym.
You do own a lot of weird tarantulas. But was that a thing? Was that because he was the spider and you thought the spider's taken, but I'll do tarantula? Or would you have just done tarantula anyway?
I would have did tarantula anyway, but I did like think of it like as like kind of like a homage to like, Anderson Silva because he was a spider.
He's the legend. He's the man. 5-fight win streak now, Jalin. All stoppages, mate. You got to be pretty happy with the way things are going.
Yeah, man. I just got it on track. I keep winning. All my finishes all my wins are finishes anyway. So, the UFC is noticing and the world's noticing. I'll just keep finishing.
Mm-hmm. Bro, I'm just gonna come out and say it. When I seen that you took the fight with Mateusz Gamrot on short notice, it was like one of the biggest G moves I've ever that I've seen in the lightweight division in a long time. Nobody wants to fight that guy at all. Like, no one wants to fight Gamrot. No one wants to fight you. No one wants to fight Sarukian. You could go on and on and on about the young talent in the division. Like, we had Drew Dober on, 10 minutes ago. And I asked him the same thing. Like, you think Jalen's fucking crazy for taking a guy like Gamrot on in just a few days notice? And he was like, yeah, that's crazy. But you don't seem to be too worried about it. Like, you're not too shook up. You're just kind of like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to go fight this guy.
Look, I think I've made a career off of fighting whoever, so it don't faze me. Whoever they want to throw against me, like, I'll fight whoever. And I honestly didn't think they was going to find me a replacement. I was like, man, they might not get nobody new. But since he stepped up, I said, yeah, because I could have waited. I could have sat back, waited for Drew, because Drew had called me out. So I was like, yo, what's up? Like, you want to fight? He didn't want to fight. He wanted to fight in April. So I'm like, you know what? Mateusz stepped up. Let's get it.
Yeah, listen, with great risk comes great reward. I mean, what is he ranked number 7, I think?
Yeah.
You're number 10, so you jump up in the rankings. Of course, he's a guy that a lot of people have great respect for. I mean, he lost to Beneil, but prior to that, the guy was kind of tearing things up big time. So a lot to gain, Obviously, he's a wrestler, right? He comes out there and he loves that single leg. Let me ask you this, and I don't want to give away your game plan, but it's pretty goddamn obvious. How many times have you drilled a guillotine for when somebody shoots in with the head on the outside?
A pretty significant amount, but
It's like, damn you, Bisping, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, man. We'll see how it goes. Honestly, I think I'm gonna stop him before he even gets to the legs. So
That's what that was gonna be my next question. Like, you do such a good job of managing range and keeping people, at your distance where you can touch them, but they can't get to you. Is that kind of how you suspect this is going to go? Like, you're going to just eliminate the wrestling? You got to be at a certain range to get that close anyways.
Yeah, and from his previous fights, I see he kind of shoots from a far distance anyway. So I figure he doesn't gauge distance really well on the feet, and his takedown entries are pretty. He either explodes into him or he throws just a single punch into him. So, I'm gonna read that a mile away.
Obviously, you and Beneil have got very different styles. On the feet, I've always said you're incredible, and you really are, Jalin. You are so talented. But when Mateusz, it's Mateusz, everyone's calling him Mateusz, but I work for the UFC. I get told to say Mateusz. When he lost to Beneil Dariush and the way that he lost, was there anything that you saw or anything you could take away in the way that Beneil fought him that you think, okay, I'm going to try and implement that in my game?
Oh, everything. I think Beneil did a great job of exposing his lack of MMA grappling and wrestling, and also Beneil is just a decorated grappler himself. But he was able to nullify his takedowns after a while. He had a nice sharp left knee, and he just stung him with punches with a basic 1-2 jab, and didn't let him get too close for too long. And then Garam had a good fight against him too. Garam blasted him with big leg kicks, big head kicks, kept him uncomfortable. Got to some scramble exchanges on the ground. But one thing I noticed is every time Gamrot fights someone, they end up standing up. Unless he submits them, they can get back to their feet. So if I get back to my feet, I'm going to keep getting back to my feet, and it's going to be a long night or a short night.
Yeah. How tall are you, Jalin?
6'3".
6'3". Is it a tough cut for you to get to 55?
No, it's not too bad.
It's not too bad. Go ahead, Mike.
No. So I was just going to rudely interrupt you. What did you say to me on the phone before? You 178?
73.
Well, sorry,
he said 173.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, you do 18 pounds? 173. No. So what's that? That is 18 pounds?
Yeah.
18 pounds. I mean, or 17 if to 156. I mean, obviously nobody likes it, but is it pretty smooth for you, or do you feel like that is a bit much?
Nah, it's smooth. Honestly, I'll probably go in the fight week maybe 167, and then
well, that's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
After I get under because I'm walking around at 73 right now. I'm not doing anything drastic to stay at 73. I've been at 73 the last few days, so it's just I'm just maintaining.
Yeah. Do you think that as you get older, you're going to end up having to go up and maybe change your style? Okay, in a roundabout way, I'm asking, there's obviously advantages to being 6'3" at 155 pounds, but what are the kind of disadvantages that you run into that maybe you wouldn't have to deal with at a higher weight class?
I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages so much more. The only thing I would have to worry about is dealing with a grappler that's going to grapple me and have that 10 pounds on me for 5 rounds. That's the only reason why I don't fight at a heavier weight. I train with heavy guys all the time. I train with Mike. It's just the grappling for me.
Yeah. No. And I'm assuming your entire career, because on the feet you are so special. And I was telling the UFC ever since you signed, I think it was a short notice fight against Luke, right? That was your first fight. Short notice, stepped up a weight class, didn't get the job done, but that was understandable. But you've been phenomenal. Is that something, defending takedowns, being able to keep the fight on the feet? I mean, is that essentially been the story of your career?
My whole fucking life, bro. Yeah, it's just keeping off the ground. But the thing is, I've been working on it for so long. I've been working on it so much more. I put more emphasis on, being comfortable on the ground, getting up from certain positions, scrambling, wrestling. So, it's always been my thing. And, I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, so I'm comfortable with submission. So I'm not really worried about grappling too much anymore.
Yeah.
What about
the live? Sorry, go on.
No, you're good. No, go ahead. You're good.
Go. No, I was just going to say, what about the lightweight division? I mean, you're number 10 now. I mean, this division is just ridiculous. I mean, stacked doesn't even begin to describe it, does it? You know what I mean? Lightweight is mental. You just mentioned Guram. What's Guram even ranked? Kuta Taladze. It's higher than you, right? I believe, and he's
nah.
Oh, is he lower?
Nah.
Is he lower?
Yeah,
I don't know the rankings of. No, I'm not messing with you. No. But I thought he was like 15 or something. Drew Dober was just on. You've got Arman Sarukian. You've obviously got the champ. You got Chandler. You got McGregor. You got Justin Gagey. You know what I mean? You got all the biggest names, all the biggest stars. From 1 to 15 is absolutely goddamn stacked. Does that excite you though? Because obviously you're working towards being a champion. Everybody is, and you have champion capabilities. It's not a wild goose chase. You know what I mean? It's not someone that's out of their mind saying, I'm going to be a champ one day. You could legit be a champ one day. Does the fact that it is so stacked, excite you more? Because when I fucking do it, I did it in the toughest division. Yeah,
it really does. Yeah, I get more excited about the challenge to fight these guys and figure out ways to beat them, like Gamrot's going to be just a grappling test. It's just going to test my accolade of how much I've worked on my grappling. And if I fight Fazeev, it's going to be like a test of my striking. Like everybody's a test from this point on. And I can't wait to see like how it all unfolds. And I definitely feel like I'm going to be a champion in this division. And within the next, couple years, easy.
Well, who in the division, like once assuming that you go in there, you fight Gamrot, you come out with a win, who's that one guy? I feel like every fighter has that one guy. They're like, I need to fight that guy. Like who's that guy that would essentially be ahead of you that really intrigues you? Maybe not necessarily for the popularity or what, just the stylistic matchup that you just really want.
Honestly, I feel like Gamrot's like the stylistic matchup I want. Because then everybody's like, after I beat Brad, they're like, oh, fight Gamrot this, fight Gamrot that. Oh, he needs to fight a grappler now. Like all right, so. I mean, if I get this job done, and it's like, what else is there? Besides the champ, that's all I really would worry about as far as like grappling goes.
Who was it your last win? Who was it? Just remind me.
Brad
Riddell.
Yeah, that was a crazy performance.
What was it, like 45 seconds? Something crazy.
Yeah.
Guillotine,
I felt so
right?
stupid as an analyst. I was like,
did you say Brad? Oh, now
no, I did. I don't think I picked Brad, but I think I did.
I don't know.
I don't think I did, but I think I did say, man, I'm so excited about this fight. This is going to be fight of the night. These guys are both fantastic strikers. Brad Riddell's he's gonna push Jalin in the striking. And then afterwards, I was like, all right, well, I'm a fucking idiot. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Just going here and just easing out of work.
That's been my last 5 fights, bro. Don't worry. Don't say the same thing about this one.
Does that motivate you? Because like you see people writing you off like Anthony Smith, just the pure disrespect coming from this man.
I gave him so much love. I feel like, this is going to be a great fight.
Oh God, the disrespect.
It's ridiculous.
It's all love. It's all love. I just,
how good?
I like flying under the radar. It's cool. It's cool for me. Like I don't mind like still being an underdog, still being overseen. Like it's cool. Like I have no issue with it because it allows me to work and get overlooked, and then I shock everybody.
Is it where is it you live? You out in Riverside?
Yeah, I'm out here in Loma Linda.
Yeah. I mean, I know you had. We all do. Most fighters come from pretty humble beginnings. You know what I mean? You're on the verge of bloody greatness now. You're on a 5-fight win streak. Would assume there was a couple of bonuses thrown in there along the way. Life's going to be pretty. Oh, really? Only one?
Yeah. My last one was my first one.
Oh, well, we have a word with the big boys, right? Has nothing to do with me. Whenever I commentate, people always go, Mike, bonus. I'm like, I don't make these decisions. If I did, you'd have more. But regardless, you got to be pretty happy with the way things are shaking out. You know what I mean? You decided to become a martial artist. You were always inspired by that. Now here you are, number 10, the heaviest division. You're making money, I mean, it must feel good, right?
Yeah, it feels good because I remember when I was sparring you always said there's money to be made, and I remember that.
Yeah. No, Jalin was coming down. He was my sparring partner for Anderson Silva and for Luke Rockhold when I won the belt. You know what I mean? And the looks that he gave me were just absolutely phenomenal. I'll never forget that, Jalin. I really do owe you one for that. I thank you for your time. The Dan Hooker fight, though, I'm kind of devastated, Anthony. You know what I'm saying?
Why?
Well, because fucking Dan Hooker, Jalin Turner, two tall, lanky, kickboxing fucking maniacs going at one another. That all them had the makings of a sensational fight. I mean, listen, Mateusz Gamrot has much higher implications, but as a stylistic matchup, as a fan, that fight was mental.
Yeah, I thought so too, man. And to be honest, though, I said this, I think on here, maybe Monday or no, Thursday. I think that the Gamrot fight is more exciting to me. I just like the stylistic matchup, and I got a lot of love for Dan Hooker. I would never want to disrespect him. He's we always speak very highly of him here, but I think that's an easy fight for Jalin. I really do, and I'm more when the fight changed to Gamrot, I got way more excited about watching the fight. It's just a more competitive, and there's a lot. The stakes are higher, at least in my opinion.
No, but without question.
Agree.
How does that make you feel, Jalin?
No, I completely agree.
Yeah,
I got nothing to add to that one.
Yeah, no. Without doubt, the stakes are way higher, but it just would have been a fun fight. Two kickboxers, two tall guys would have been good. So what we now? A couple of weeks out from the fight, Jon Jones. Main event, the return of him. Obviously, I remember when I was coming up being on the same card as like some legends, and they don't get much bigger than Jon Jones. I mean, I'm assuming for you, that's a little feather in the cap, a tick of a box, right? What do you think? I mean, did you ever think growing up that you'd be fighting on the prelims of a Jon Jones card? I mean, it's pretty cool, right?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty cool. Shoot, I trained with John when I was an amateur too, so it's kind of...
Oh shit, that's right. I remember you went down to Greg Jackson's.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's kind of surreal. You know what I mean? It's funny because I was gonna write a little post about it the other day, but I was like, I'm gonna save it for next week. But just keep pursuing your dreams, and everything's gonna line up. And you never know where you end up.
What do you think happens in that main event?
Come on, man.
Stupid question.
Hey, I like Cyril, but John gonna get it done.
Hey, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Jon Jones might get knocked the fuck out. Cyril gone, knocked out Derek Lewis, knocked out Taito Avasa, knocked out who else? Turned Francis Ngannou into a wrestler.
But
I'm not. Go on.
But Francis Ngannou wrestled him, and Francis Ngannou's wrestling is not on Jon Jones' level.
Oh, bro, we know this. We're just trying to make it spicy. We're just trying to get those pay-per-views through the goddamn roof. You know what I mean?
We're selling shit. We're selling shit here.
Come on, man. Come on.
I feel it. All
right.
Well, let's
Jalin.
Well, I wanted to ask him about throw your analyst hat on a little bit. It's your division. It's crazy at the top. A lot of those guys are moving around. What was your view on the title fight on Islam versus Volkanovski? I'm always curious what people in those divisions think about the fights that are going on.
I think it was a good fight. I said Volk would do his thing. It was going to be a little bit of a trickier fight for Islam, and Volk looked really good. The fight could have went either way for me. I kind of favorite Volk because he looks so good, but I haven't watched the fight again. I only watched it once, but thinking back about it, it's probably because Islam's been so dominant against other people. Why they think Volk got robbed, but I don't know. I gotta watch it again, but it could have went either way in my opinion. But Volk looked good.
I think I haven't watched it again since either. I had Islam, but it was close. I mean, a very, very close 3-2. But either way, fantastic fight. Both men should be very proud of themselves. Jalin, all the best next week, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for giving us your time. Good luck with that weight cut. And when you're the goddamn champion of the world, brother, killing it. Oh, tarantulas. How many tarantulas you got?
Sure. I only got like 10 right now. I'm gonna get some more.
10? Did you say 10?
Only 10.
Only 10.
No, dude. One of my daughters keeps asking for a tarantula because my wife's brother has 2 tarantulas, and they go over there and they play with these goddamn freaky ass spiders, and they just keep begging me. So my wife's like, "Well, let's just get him a goddamn tarantula." I'm like, "No, I'll burn this fucking house down." It's not that I don't like them; they freak me the fuck out.
Bro,
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yes, you can.
No.
Yes, you can.
Are you bringing one to Vegas with you?
No, I'm not. But bring one.
He said no.
Get one. I'll bring one if you want me to. If you hold it, I'll let you hold it.
If you bring it off, I'll hold it.
All right, bet.
My son has a tarantula. From the day we bought it and we put it in his little enclosure, we've never seen it since. We have never seen it. We have a little piece of bark in there. Apparently, my wife feeds it. Apparently, it eats it. Apparently, it's still there. Apparently, it's alive, but we never, ever see it. They are cool creatures, Jalin, but they are unsociable bastards. Get a personality.
It depends on the species. You got to get the right species that you can just let handle and everything. Right. So I recommend pink toes if you want to hold tarantulas and stuff, or Mexican red knees are cool.
It sounds like a killer. It sounds like something that someone got killed by. Like, oh, you remember old John? He got killed by one of them.
Mexican red knees? No, that sounds like something it sounds like a gas station hooker. Mexican red knees. Do you know what I mean? Oh, Jalin, you're the man. I'm proud of seeing where you've come and what you've achieved, man. You've done it all by yourself. You've worked your goddamn ass off. How old are you now?
Sure, I'll be 28 this year.
28. So I met you when you were 22. You were super talented and able then. You've improved massively throughout all your hard work. Keep up what you're doing. I love watching your career unfold before our very eyes, and all the best next weekend, mate. Wishing you nothing but the best outcome.
Appreciate you. We're going to get that hand raised for sure.
We're going to get the fucking hand raised, and we're going to get you back on the show to revel in your glory.
Let's get it.
Good luck,
my man. Yeah. Take it easy, Jalin. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for everything. Take care, bro. What a nice guy.
What a cool dude. I don't know about them goddamn tarantulas, though.
The Mexican red knees, bro.
No fucking tarantulas over here.
They don't do shit. They don't do shit.
Except for give me a heart attack. Now he makes me feel like I feel like a pussy. Man, maybe I'm gonna get my kid a tarantula. I don't know.
Get a tarantula. We never see ours. Apart from the
I'm not holding no fucking spider though.
Yeah, but you gotta buy all the stuff. You gotta buy like the what do we get them? Lucas!
We're gonna log in on here on
my God, he heard that. He's coming down the stairs like these little cockroaches. Lucas! Come here, buddy. He'll tell you. It's disgusting. Doobie roaches and bloody. We have all kinds of animals. Come here, Lucas. Stick this headphone in. We're just talking about tarantulas. This is Anthony Smith.
We met, right?
Hello.
Have you heard how deep his voice is? He's only 12.
Hello.
What do we feed Silky?
Crickets.
Yeah, and what else?
Silky, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Crickets, bugs.
Anthony's scared of getting a tarantula because his daughter wants one. What would you say to that?
They aren't that bad.
Are you sure? Well, no, these things are scary.
Go and get Silky.
No. They don't like to be picked up and stuff.
No, see what I mean? This is the crap pets.
See, why get one then?
I like watching him.
You wouldn't even watch him. You can't even see him.
Watch him do what? What's he do?
No, he doesn't. Oh my God. You.
Go on, what?
Now you got him mad.
You didn't even know when my birthday was, so twice. You messed it up twice. At first you said it was April, then you said it was the 10th of May.
I hate you, Lucas. I hate you. Oh my God.
So essentially, whatever you say doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't even know when my birthday was. Shut the hell up. Oh my God.
Well, if you can't even say my birthday.
Oh, shut up. May 10th. 14th, I think. Get out of here. Go on.
Oh my God. We need to bring him on more often.
Little bastard.
Oh,
all right. So Before we were rudely interrupted by Jalin Turner, we were just talking about Jake Paul and the whole Tommy Fury thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming, Anthony, you haven't spent too much time studying Tommy Fury.
No, I seen part of his fight. I think I didn't go back and watch it, but when it happened, I watched the last half of the. Who did he fight last? Anthony Taylor.
Anthony Pretty Boy Taylor.
Yeah.
On the undercard of Woodley 1. Yeah, and that fight was pretty bad, if I'm honest.
He looked like shit.
He looked like shit, but because I was working and I was covering that fight for BT Sport, so I had to watch. So I watched some of the stuff, and as we said before, the opposition wasn't very good, but he looked tip top. Like, you know, and he's a physical specimen. He's a big dude. He's ripped. He's in great shape. Handsome fella, almost as handsome as Drew Dober. But you know, come on, no one can achieve that kind of great. Yeah, they've still got a ways to go. And he looked really good, but he looked shit against Anthony Pretty Boy Taylor. Maybe that's because he's an MMA fighter. You know what I mean? So the rhythm's a little different. But I'm just going to put it on you. Who do you think wins this weekend, Mr. Smith?
Early, up until today, to be honest with you, I was leaning towards Jake Paul because I was really stuck on the last half of that Anthony Taylor fight, which I haven't. To be fair, I'm going to make a pick here and give you some analysis without watching a whole lot of tape on Tommy Fury. But
that's okay.
I was leaning.
Before you say that, Brian, I'm just sending you a video. Just cue it up in a second, mate. Sorry, Anthony, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
I was leaning Jake Paul. I watched some of the press conference today, and it seems to me like Jake Paul is trying to get under Tommy Fury's skin over there in Saudi Arabia, but it doesn't seem to be working. And the fact that kind of Tommy Fury's team was so quick to make that bet, saying if Tommy Fury loses, he'll forfeit all of his money that Jake Paul's paying him, but if he wins, he gets double. He was pretty confident in taking that. That tells me, I don't know. It tells me he knows something that maybe no one else knows.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely confident. He's 8-0, undefeated. Everyone kisses his ass. He's got loads of money. He's very famous. You know what I mean? The ego will be out of control, but it is, as we said before, with fighters, you got to have that. So that's a prerequisite to being a successful fighter. But he's got all the other stuff with it. He's got the Jake Paul circus wherever he goes. So rightly so, he should be confident. He's doing big things, and he's definitely a major success in life. I think he probably gets this one done, but you're right what you said. He's trying to make it personal. He's trying to talk a lot of shit. Brian, did you manage to pull that one up? I'm not sure if it even came through yet through the ether. Is it there, buddy? Oh, here we go.
Tommy, I hope you've enjoyed these last few moments of your career. This is it. You're going to be retired from boxing after this. You're going to be disowned by your family. You're going to go back to your mother's maiden name. There's nothing else that can save you. It is just me and you, mano a mano. Your brother's not in the ring anymore with you. Your dad's not in the ring with you anymore. Molly's not in the ring with you anymore. Bambi isn't in the ring with you anymore. So all that little cute motivation about having a child and fighting for her, all that shit goes out the window when I'm coming to take your fucking head off, decapitate you. I'm a mean, angry person deep down. I'm going to take out all of it on your fucking face. And there's nothing you could do to fucking beat me. I'm built different. I want this more than you. I have more of a why. I'm more tapped in. I'm more emotionally intelligent. I'm more spiritually connected. I've worked harder every single day, in and out. I have a better team. I have a better support system. And guess what? Me winning this fight is for the higher benevolent good of the universe. And so it's not just me in the ring. It's all of my guidance. It's all of my ancestors. It's all of my spiritual helpers. It's all of the people protecting me. And together we are going to fuck you up. You have 4 rounds, and then you are fucked. Tommy Fury, this is it for you.
I mean, that's some big words.
I stopped listening after he said benevolent.
Yeah, no, I know. It's for the higher spiritual, benevolent good of the...
You start talking about fucking ghosts and goblins and benevolent.
It's a fucking boxing match between a YouTuber and Tyson Fury's little brother in Dubai. This isn't a cultural...
Listen, guys, this is Logan Paul's brother versus Tyson Fury's brother.
Yeah, exactly. It's 2 brothers.
Speaking of Logan Paul, look at that. It's not that bad.
Oh, shit. What do you think of the Prime?
It's not that bad. It's a little bit sugary. It's a little sweet.
Sugary.
It's a little sweet. It's a little sweet, but it's not bad. My kids love it.
All right, I had a couple of sips. Not bad. It tastes like any other drink, any other like a Gatorade. It tastes just like that. I'm not sure what all the fuss is about. But there you go. Marketing genius says, I think Jake Paul wins. You think Tommy wins?
I think so.
Okay,
let's make a bet.
All right,
let's make a bet. I already got one.
The winner of this bet,
I got one,
does not have to partake in the one chip challenge that we're going to do.
Oh no! My bet was going the other direction. The winner of this.
I knew that's when Brian would fucking perk up.
The winner of this bet only has to eat half the chip, and the loser's got to take a whole chip. Full chip.
All right. Well, Harrington and Brian should get to give their bets as well. Harrington, how do you see this one going down? We were getting on like this is Jon Jones versus Cyril Gane. It's not. Let's just make that quite clear. But Harrington, what's your bet? Where would you put your money? Where are you putting that half a chip?
I'm gonna go with Jake Paul, man. He's got Badu Jack fighting for the cruiserweight title on the undercard. I think he's setting himself up to actually contend for a real boxing title with a win here.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's exactly what he's doing. Brian, what do you say?
I want to see John Fury's speech when his son loses to Jake Paul.
No man alive can beat my son. Right? Listen, that Jake Paul doesn't know what he's doing. He's a bum. He's a bum, I tell you. He's got no idea. No man alive can box either of my lads. They are the boxing phenoms. They're going to take over this world. And that, if you ask me, is a pretty good John Fury impression.
It's amazing.
That's an amazing. That sounds like every one of the Furies. All the Furies sound the
same. All right. Well, you're sticking your chips on. Tommy Fury, I got Jake Paul, but realistically, as we said, I'm interested, but I don't care. All right, let's just talk about chalk.com, CHOQ. Look, listen, the reality is, in this day and age, men's testosterone is at an all-time low, which is crazy. And not a day's gone by that I don't see people, trying to improve their lives, but the part of the reason is that they've got low testosterone. If you don't have the energy, you're not getting the results you want in the gym. You're not as virile as you used to be. Probably low testosterone. So there's lots of great products on the market, but there's also a lot of crap. Chalk is all natural. It is a new natural testosterone booster that takes the sports nutrition and natural health world by storm. And I prefer Chalk for several reasons. First of all, everything's natural. Okay, you pull up at a gas station, you buy one of those. It's full of weak, crap, dirty ingredients, dirty supplements. And the guys at Chalk are proud to stand up above all of them in clean, pure, and healthy products, okay? Chalk is the cleanest research-based testosterone booster available that you can get. And along with Chalk, be sure to check out their Male Vitality Stack, STAQ, and the Stack Ultra, okay? If you think about it, your testosterone is dipping. Get it re-upped. Get that boost, okay? But do it in a natural way that's going to give you some vitamins and minerals along the way, okay? Right now, go to chalk.com, use the promo code Bisping, okay? You're going to get a massive 35% off. The holiday season is approaching. Give the gift of better help to yourself and to others by going to chalk.com. And as I say, use that code Bisping. 35% off your entire order, which, come on, it's a massive discount. Chalk.com/Bisping. Good luck. Harrington, any big stories that we need to get to before we hit some questions?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is the UFC 288 card was announced.
Oh, yeah, come on, set it up.
So we have a main event. It's looking like it's going to be Henry Cejudo versus Aljamain Sterling. And then the co-main event, as you spoke about with Drew Dober, Beneil Dariush versus Charles Olivera.
Yeah, I love both those fights.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not?
Yeah, I'm excited to see Cejudo back for sure. That's interesting.
So it really is interesting. You know what I mean? It's like now we're going to see how good is Aljamain Sterling, right? And listen, the way he beat Jan the first time, okay, everyone was up in arms about the knee. The second time he beat him fair and square. But again, it was a very close fight. TJ Dillashaw was an injured fighter. He essentially went in there one-armed, not taking away from Aljamain Sterling. I'm not. You only beat the person that's put in front of you. It's not his fault TJ came in all bust up. It isn't, but it does still, you beg the question, could Aljamain become one of the true greats. If he can knock off Henry Cejudo, the answer is then definitely. However, it kind of sucks for Aljamain because the critics would still say, Cejudo was retired for 2 years. He's getting older. He came off the couch. You know what I mean? But I don't think Cejudo is going to do that. I think Cejudo is going to come in tremendous shape. He's extremely disciplined, trains his ass off. He's got a great mind. He's very smart when it comes to the fight game. I think that's a hell of a fight.
Well, he's well-rounded too. I think that's one of those knocks on Aljo is that, well, he beat Petr Yan, but he did it with grappling. He didn't strike with him and stand in front of him. Cejudo can do it all. There is no hole. And if Aljo's the wrestler and people are saying he's one-dimensional and he beats Cejudo, I mean, that's an Olympic gold medalist there. You can't really say much about it.
No, you can't. You can't. And it's interesting for Cejudo. I mean, can he come back? I mean, the career that he's had has been unbelievable. Let's be honest. I know he's cringe and all the rest of it, and he leans into that. We had him on the podcast. He was awesome. He was great. He's not like that in person at all. It's just like a gimmick. But, of course, the wrestling is there. Knockout power, man.
Crazy
knocked out, who was it? TJ and Dominic Cruz.
Yeah. Two of the harder guys to hit, too.
Two of the hardest guys to hit and to knock out. I mean, TJ, I don't know, Dominic Cruz or TJ prior to that didn't have a history. They don't have a history now.
Right.
But I don't know if Cruz had ever been knocked out or finished like that before.
No, not that I can recall. He only had like 2 losses before that.
Yeah, and then obviously Beneil and Charles. I mean, that's a great fight in itself. Yeah. What do you reckon, though?
It's a fun jiu-jitsu fight, for sure.
The most submissions in the history of the UFC going up against Beneil Dariush, who's a high-level black belt that essentially was able to beat Mateusz Gamrot at his own game, if you will. So, very, very good fight. And you can't deny Beneil Dariush. If he beats Charles, it has to be a title fight. Simple as that. But the question is, Anthony, if Charles beats Beneil, do you think he should get a shot at the belt again?
I mean, yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, I think so. Yeah, probably.
The only reason I asked that question, and I'd love to see it, I think he's so exciting, the body of work that he's had, the records that he's set, and the excitement he gave us when he was champion of the world was phenomenal, and his work ethic as well. So, yeah, sure, I'm all about it. The only reason I asked the question is, A, to get a different take, but B, because it is so stacked. As we said to Jalin before, there's so many bloody people. It's wild, the talent at lightweight. But, all right. Anything else, Harrington? Anything burning before we get to questions?
No, I'm looking through it here. Nothing. I mean, the big story's all been taken care of. I think you guys are good to go.
Right about now, if you got the questions, you can send them in to BYMpod@gmail.com. Brian, what we need to do? We need to isolate Leon Edwards when he gives us the right about now.
Well, I have that.
Oh, you do? Awesome. And you, what snack were you munching on there, Brian? Looks like we got you at a bad time. Was it a bag of chips?
No, I ordered some French fries right before the show.
Oh, nice.
Just French fries?
I ordered some other stuff too.
Let me ask you.
Mostly Vices.
How do you like your French fries? And we'll throw this one to the room because I love a good French fry. I like it with salt, shit loads of pepper. Don't like waffle fries. No way.
Crispy waffle fries. That's how I do it.
But I like salt, shitloads of pepper, and chipotle sauce. You give me that shit.
It's got to be super salty and a little bit crunchy. Salty and crunchy. They can't be too fat. I don't want those big fat
but what about
fries.
the sauce? What about the sauce? The dipping sauce? Mayonnaise is chipotle or it's mayonnaise?
Or ranch.
No.
Ketchup?
Yeah, you're going regular mayonnaise over ketchup? Chipotle mayo all day. Agreed. That is
Chipotle mayo is
that's the best sauce.
I can't argue with that. That's a good one.
But why do you guys have an issue with the mayonnaise on fries? I don't get that.
I don't have an issue with it. I just feel like sweet and salty is a better combination than like savory.
Fries and mayonnaise is good. But still, the chipotle, that's where it's at. But anyway, if you've got questions, send them in bympod@gmail.com. And Harry Tony, Boney.
Herringbound.
If you're enjoying this show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you find podcasts, make sure to subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, positive review. It helps us out on all those platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel and you hit that notification bell to find out whenever a new video drops. And if you want to catch over 400 episodes you can't find anywhere else, completely ad-free and uncensored, head to gasdigitalnetwork.com. Use the promo code BYM. Get yourself a 7-day free trial.
All right, so it looks like, unfortunately, it's just me because Anthony's got some Wi-Fi issues. He just cut out right before we did this and just called him up and sadly can't make it. So, unfortunately for you guys, the questions are with me only. So anyway, Brian, what do we have, my friend?
Hey, all right. So this first question we have here today is from Mr. Kyle Shelton, and he wants to know why MMA scoring is more straightforward.
All right, let's take a look.
Hey, Michael, Anthony, and the gang. My name's Kyle. I have a question about scoring. This weekend was Islam versus Volkanovski. It was a great fight, but like many fights lately, the crowd is split on who actually won. It seems like some people think that Islam won and some people think Volkanovski won. I think that's because the current scoring system has too much opinion in it. I was wondering what you guys think about maybe switching to a scoring system like wrestling, where everything has points allocated to it. A jab is worth X amount of points. A significant strike is worth a few more. A takedown is worth points. And control time on the ground or control time against the cage is worth points. And maybe round by round, they add up the points, and whoever wins more rounds at the end of the fight actually wins the fight. And I was just wondering if you guys think this is a realistic idea, if maybe it could be implemented at a lower level like LFA, and then eventually comes up to the UFC. Thanks for your time and have a great day.
What do you think, Brian? Seeing as it's just me riding solo.
That's all right. I think there's a lot of like incidentals in MMA that's not in wrestling, you know, like damage and stuff like that, where there's other factors into it than just who does move A, move B.
Yeah, no, exactly, completely right. Because that was I think we mentioned this at the time. There was a seminar that we had to do from the judges and the commission and the referees and everything about how they score fights. And as we know, because lots of people have mentioned it many times, it's now based upon damage. And I understand what our friend there is saying, and I understand the reason for the question, because that does sound logical. You know, the more jabs you land, you can stay on. The more jabs you land, or the more right hands or whatever, you add that up. That sounds great. That sounds logical, but it doesn't really paint the whole story of the fight. You know, you should do it. I agree with the new system. Now, of course, it's all down to opinions. Like a lot of people thought Volkanovski won. A lot of Australians, anyway, they all thought Volkanovski won. I thought it was right. I thought it was a very, very extremely close fight, but I think they got it correct. Of course, with the control time and things like that, and the submission attempts. Control time. Yeah, I mean, listen, it was a close fight. Volkanovski did amazing. That's not what we're here to talk about. But I thought they got it right. The number one criteria is damage. So like if you did it from our friend's perspective there, I mean, let's just say there's different types of jabs. Do you know what I mean?
I could hit you with a nothing jab, and you could hit me with a stiff one that puts me on my back.
100%.
Do they still count the same because it's a jab?
Well, exactly. So you illustrate my point perfectly, you know, and that would become a significant strike as opposed to a non-significant strike. But it doesn't really matter. You know, I feel like, listen, the score system isn't perfect, but I do like the fact they brought in the damage criteria. You know, so it's always a tough one. And of course, mixed martial arts, the close fights, they're always under heavy scrutiny. And I think, you know, of course, I keep saying of course, but the judges, they try their best. You know what I mean? And yes, there's good and there's bad. That Douglas Crosby, he came under fire a lot recently. Apparently, he's been doing a lot of bad judging. So maybe they need to look at that. And I always say, if there's a questionable decision, the judges need to be held accountable and answer why they think they're scored that way. You know, a fight that way, you know, in front of their peers, or they need to sit down and watch a fight and to their bosses, their peers, whatever, say, this is why I scored it that way. And if it can't be realistically explained, then of course you've got an issue, you know. But I don't think.
I'm sorry.
We'll say again.
Do you think that should be something that happens now?
Yeah,
now, like a press conference for the judges after.
Yeah. No, when we had that seminar, I put that to them, and they actually said, no, we kind of do that. Now, I've never heard that. They don't make it public knowledge, but they said, no, listen, we do that. When there is a controversial scorecard, we do kind of hold them accountable. Are they holding them accountable enough? We don't know, because there is some scorecards that are just bizarre. But I understand the logical approach that our nice, what was he called? Sorry, I keep saying my friend.
Kyle.
Sorry, Kyle. I understand why Kyle would say that, because that sounds logical, but it's open to interpretation as to how much one strike hurts and how much one doesn't. Yeah, it's not a bad system. Of course, you can always improve, but I'm not sure that is the way.
It's the best one we got.
Well, I guess it is the best one we got so far. We got one more question?
We sure do. This is a silly one. This is from Mr. Sam McLean. Oh, hold on one second. That was weird.
It's all right. Looks like you're having a bit of a power issue as well there, Brian.
Things are happening around here.
Yeah.
Here's the question.
All right.
Hey, guys. Talk about the practicality of trying to pop someone's eardrums in the cage. Maybe you got a single collar tie and just go, bah! Is that fucked up?
Well, it's like an old school martial arts technique. I remember I used to do traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu, and they would say that if you cup your hands in like that on the ears, you can burst their eardrums.
You get that in Taekwondo too.
Yeah. Never seen or heard of anyone that actually said, so I got cupped by a guy that did traditional martial arts and it blew out my eardrum. So, I mean, yeah, listen, you want to do that.
Jackie Chan movie.
No, exactly. Yes, Jackie Chan or some McDojo bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, come on. It's the dim
out. You wouldn't try and pop someone's ears out when you can just literally try and knock them out. Do you know what I mean? As I said on the question a second ago, it's on damage. You know what I mean? And
it's going to take just as much force to knock somebody's head sideways as it is to pop their eardrum inside their head.
And contrary to popular belief, that is not how you cause cauliflower ears either. No. It's like when people say about tickling. Why don't people just tickle? Because it doesn't work. It's like, why would you try and go to the effort of landing a successful ear cup when you could just as much land a punch to the jaw? All you got to do is move it down a few inches. Yeah. In fact, not even inches. And you're on the jaw as opposed to the ear. But our friend there looks like he might have been cupped to the ear once or twice. There's quite the headband or sweatband or bandage on his head, whatever it is.
He's a character.
Yeah. God bless him. Well, unfortunately, a bit of an abrupt end there. We lost Anthony, and we will be back on Monday. We appreciate you, Brian. Appreciate you, Harrington, and appreciate you, Anthony Smith. But more importantly, we appreciate you, the believers. Without you, we wouldn't have this show. So thank you all very much for tuning in, and we'll be back next week, I guess. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Ryan Spann, Nikita Krylov. That's an amazing fight. Can't give predictions on it because I'm commentating that one. So tune in and check it out. But until Monday, enjoy your weekends, and we'll see you then.